Well, hey folks, Fat Guy Flies RC coming to you from the man cave. We're going to be putting together the DYNAM BEAVER DH2 version 2. And the very first part we're going to do is put on the landing gear. That's the very first part of this build. Now, I've already done the unboxing video. You're going to find your landing gear, okay? Remember I showed the unboxing video how there's how this rakes forward and there's already a template there? All right. Go ahead, put that there, okay? You're going to want let me pause for just a moment. All right, in your kit, you're going to have 3 of these really long, heavy-duty machine screws, okay? I'm going to have 3 of them. See, they're pretty good sized. Okay. All right, they're machine screws. They have flat ends. Okay. You're going to take them. This is what's going to attach your landing gear. I can do the back one first. Phillips head is what holds everything on. Having the plane stand like this is an Ernst plane stand, big help. Highly suggest you use one. Whenever it's nice and flush, you can tell you're bottomed out. Don't go any further. Don't push it. All right, that's on there. Okay, let's go ahead and turn our, do our tail wheel real quick. Okay, you notice on the end of your wheel there, on that little tiller, there's a flat spot right here. Okay, on this side, there's a little grub screw. In your kit, you get this little Allen wrench. Okay. Pull that Allen wrench out. Should have already had this out. Okay, and you got this little grub screw in there. You want to loosen this grub screw up just enough to where you can easily slide the tail wheel in with the flat part where the tail should angle backwards. If it doesn't drop down there easy enough, then you don't have the grub screw in there. So make sure you don't drop it. You see, that just came out. So I'm going to put that on the magnetic tray. I had to shave a little bit off the end of that shaft in order to get that shaft, but finally it dropped down in there. And the little Allen wrench that they gave just didn't have enough bite on it. It wouldn't work because you really had to pressure it. And so instead I've used a little 1.5 meter hex drive tool, and now that's on there nice and solid. Now I have to remember to go back and run that rod, this rod that's sliding freely now, back into that linkage stopper. But let's go back. That takes care of the tail wheel. Let's turn our attention now. Loosen up these grub screws and slide them out of there. Okay. Pull your, well, you got a nut there. You'll want to undo this nut. Take the hardware off. Well, anyways, you want to take the hardware off. Okay, I'll show this one, and then we'll pause for the other one. Okay. Take that nut off. Slide this out. Okay. Take the screw with the longer head, with a flat head, the Phillips head. Put it back through there, okay, then put your nut on there. That was supplied. Just a nice way then to include it, and they just went ahead and just attached it that way. But if they would have had them already out like this, then you would have had a pointy mess. So now you're going to take a pair of needle nose or a pair of pliers, whatever you want to use, okay? grab a hold of that nut, hold it in place. Okay. And get that. Remember, right to tight, left to loose. You could put a little Loctite on there. Just be careful with Loctite next to foam. Loctite usually will eat up foam. You're going to take one of your wheels. You're going to put your lock nut, one of the lock nuts on there. And you can, the reason is because it gives you a little bit of space. Tighten it down just so it doesn't move around. Okay. Slide your wheel on. Doesn't matter which way it goes. Okay. All right. Then I suggest putting your tool in your little lock nut there. Go ahead and slide that on there. Okay. Well, and I go ahead and start getting it tighten up just a little bit more. Oh, we did the wrong one. This one doesn't want to move, so you'll see the one that. Okay, put this one up. That one to move. Put it on there. Maybe I can get it to move now. That might just be on there just as a spacer. Okay, put that through there. This one seems to be a little bit wider too. Go ahead and tighten it up just a little bit to where it will slide on the shaft. All right, when you're done, this is how it should look. I've got the tail wheel back installed, as far as back on that linkage, and this is how you should end up looking. It should rake forward like that. Nice big ground clearance, big balloony type tires. Okay, and you shouldn't have any, you should have plenty of ground clearance. Okay, all right, that concludes the landing gear portion of this build. Next up, tail feathers. Alrighty, in this section of the build, we're going to be installing our tail feathers. Okay, before you do that, I've already dry fitted this together to make sure it works. And the way it's going to work is obviously this goes on top, the rudder goes on top, the tiller side, or where these nubs are, go down, and this is just going to fit in there like a piece of a puzzle, just like that. Okay, now if you wish to, you could go ahead and install this. Just go ahead and install these in, and then take these two long screws that have a shiny end, and then they have a grooved like wood screw type end. Okay, make sure you can see it. Okay, it's threaded with a sharp, and then it's got no metal here. I mean, no threading there, so they're like a two-part looking screw. Okay, you could go ahead and do that, but you still have to attach your control rods. Okay, control arms. So it's easier to go ahead and install them while you have them off. Okay, now I have already, if you look in here, this has a pinch hinge. I've already taken my hold the foam. Okay, run a very thin bead on the underside. You can still see a little bit of it right there, that white, and on both sides of the rudder. And I took a Q-tip, okay, and just kind of smashed that down in the seam on the underside of the elevator on both sides of the rudder, and then I worked that glue in. And what that hold the foam does, it makes a nice, for lack of a better term, a rubbery type fake hinge. It reinforces the hinge you already have with a layer of very flexible rubber. That's just what I call hold the foam treatment, and it actually is called hold the foam, made by Beacon. Okay, so let's go ahead and put our control rods on, or control arms on, because it just makes it a lot easier to go ahead and do that. Okay, and I know that this one over here is the elevator and this is the rudder. I've already checked, so that means that my control arm is going to attach. You see there's two little holes don't know if you can see them or not. Two little holes there, okay? And you're going to want these line up, however way it lines up with the holes, okay? You're going to take that, and this is where you're going to use machine screws, because the backing plate where you're going to attach these and sandwich them together are actually machine screws, and they look like this. They're just small. They're about 3/4 of an inch long. You want to go ahead and run them through the part where it has the arm, and that way you can hold them in place with your finger. Okay. Let me find another one here. You should have at least 4 with the kit. So don't lose them. Run them through there. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to attach this one, and then I'll pause and I'll do the same thing for the rudder. Okay. This is going to be on the underside, so if you see the tiller and these 2 protrusions, you know you're on the right side. There's 2 holes there. I'm going to keep my finger behind them, and I'm going to shove them on through there. Okay. Now you know what? Okay, and you see, they're kind of, see the little bit of metal kind of coming through? Okay. All right. Now here's where you want to take that glue they provide. Now this is just an extra step. You don't have to do this. But I like to do this. Perforate, the little pointer here has a thing of making a hole in the top of the tube. Okay. And then I like to take and put me a little dab of glue right where that plate's going to be. Okay. Okay. Set my glue off to the side. And then I've got them 2 screws. I'm going to take my plate that lines up with those 2 screws. I'm going to place them on there, and I'm going to kind of just pinch everything together. Okay. The other screws should line up perfectly. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Make sure you hold them in place. It's going to make a little bit of a mess here. That's okay. Okay. Alright, now hold that in place. Grab my Phillips head screwdriver. Okay. Okay. Once you got them in there, that's how it's going to look. You're going to have your control arm on there, and the screws are shooting through the other side. Okay. Now, here's where you're going to want, if you want to use glue, which I do, I'm going to use a little bit of hot glue, and I love using this hot glue gun. It works wirelessly for 3 minutes. A little bead there, a little bead there, a little bead there, and just a little bead around these areas here. Okay. Okay. Go ahead and sandwich my pieces back together again. Okay. Fish that down in there like that. Remember to pull your elevator control rod up like that. Alright. Make sure it's got nice in there, nice and tight. Tight plane is a happy plane. Okay. Turn it over, and that hot glue is going to hold everything in place for me. Okay. And this is where you're going to take them long screws I talked about that have bare metal on one end and then threaded on the far end. Go ahead and drop. You got a hole here and a hole here. All right. That's in there. Now, that ain't coming out, okay? Now here's something else you do. You don't have to do this, is optional, but I'm going to do it because it helps the plane fly well. And that is on these little conveying things, and they have where the raised edges are. See the raised edges there? Okay, see the raised edges? If you pull your elevator down, okay, you see there's a hard plastic port. Well, these are going to just slide right in there, and they should key right in. Those raised edges should key right in. Okay. And if this doesn't move freely, then you don't have them in place right. Okay. This is where you're going to take the small little wood screws. Oh wait, sorry. Not those are too big. There's some really small ones. Okay. They're really small. They have flat heads on them, and they fit in there just perfectly. Thought those seemed awfully. They should fit in there nice and flush. You should have 4 of them. They almost look like what you attach the top of servos with. Okay, they're not. That one's not lined up, but you get the idea. And this will conclude the tail section installation. All right, this is your wing installation section. Now, in the kit, I forgot to show you, in that kit where the floats were, you'll get these long wires, okay? This is in case if you want to put on the floats. This is part of the float system. All right, now before we start putting these wing halves together, this is a great time to test your servos before you get them installed, okay? So I like using a servo tester, and I'm going to test everything. I'm going to test the lights, and I'm going to test the servos, okay? Now I've already, these are what you call, I think, slotted flaps. So the hinges are actually these mechanical hinges, so obviously I'm not going to hold the foam, but I took my ball link disconnector and disconnected the ball links, and I put that hold the foam treatment here on these servos, okay? So I've got power to my tester. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to test the aileron. Obviously the aileron's working. I'm going to test the flap. Okay, that's working. I'm going to test the light. You probably can't see it. There's 2 lights. They look right there. That light works. Okay. Get this to key in there. Oh, turn around. Alright, and that light comes on down there, that green light. Okay, so this wing is fully functional. Okay. These little zip bread ties you got, you want to go ahead and take them off. I already took them off on the other wing, I didn't do it on this one. Okay, we're going to test everything on this wing just like I did that one. We'll pause while I do that. All right, in this section we're going to talk about making sure that everything's up and running, and we're going to be putting our wing on. This is mainly the wing installation. I've already checked all the electronics in both of these wings, and they work just fine. So now I can go ahead and take my wing spar, okay, put one end of the wing spar in, making sure that these wires hang down. This is the top of the wing. I want them to hang down below the spar. Okay, going to join the 2 top of the wing spar together. The wing's going to fit together like that. I'll set that off to the side for now. I took my servo tester and I made sure that just like I did with the wing, I made sure that my aileron and my rudder servos are working just fine. And lo and behold, the rudder servo that's labeled R is actually the elevator. And the one that's labeled with an E, or elevator, is actually my rudder. So good thing you check that ahead of time. Because now's the time when you're going to want to go ahead, because the receiver is going to go inside, you're going to want to go ahead and install your receiver. But before we do that, let's make sure that our motor is going the right way, okay? And how you do that is you're going to go ahead and take a battery. Okay, I want to make sure, because I'm getting ready to seal up this fuselage, so I want to make sure that everything is working right. If you don't have yourself a servo tester, pull your throttle cable down where you can get a hold of it. Okay, If you don't have yourself a throttle tester or a servo tester, I highly suggest getting one. It just makes life so much easier. I'll pull my little hatch off, okay? I'll grab my XT60 connector, okay? I'll plug my ESC and just let the battery hang there, okay? I'm going to grab my servo tester and I'll plug the throttle lead in, okay? Okay. Okay. Wow. Wow. We know the motor works, but I want to just hold the shaft. Wow. Wow. Okay, it's going this way, or it's going counterclockwise. So if I took where do I put my prop, which that should be right, if I was to put the prop on there, and it was to go counterclockwise, that would be correct, because the blade of the prop would be pushing the air backwards, which is what I want. So now I know my motor's going right, I know the motor works, okay? I know all the electronics inside work, okay? Unplug the battery. That was just a battery for testing, a three-cell battery. Okay, so now I can go ahead and at this point mount my receiver. Okay, so I'm going to take my throttle on. This is Spectrum protocol, so channel 1 is always going to be throttle, and you're always going to put light side up towards the top of the receiver. 99% of all receivers are that way. Okay, now I'm going to turn my attention to my wing for just a moment. Okay, I'll lay everything right here. My two leads, I already know everything works. I know these two aileron leads. The two that are labeled A are my aileron, and they are properly labeled. So I'm going to take one of the supplied Ys, and the polarity is always going to be light to light, dark to dark. I don't care what manufacturer servo it is, or leads are, it's always light to light and dark to dark. So when I plug this extension in, this Y in, I should see yellow going down this side, yellow going down this side, the dark on this side, and just so for my own peace of mind, let's just make sure that we didn't lose a connection somewhere in there. You know, these are just things you want to do. Because once you put this together, it's going to be really hard. And look at that. Both my ailerons are working. So I know I've got a good connection, and I can kind of hang that off the side. Now, I'm going to grab my two flaps that have F on it. Okay, I'm going to grab another one of these extensions, light to light, dark to dark. These long Y leads. Light to light, dark to dark. Just get that shoved in your head. And we'll look at my flaps. Oh, look. Both my flaps are working. Okay, so now I've got all these other little funky little wires hanging off here. Okay, well, these are all lights. Whenever you see a wire that is just simply black and red, that just means it's something that needs power. Now you have in the kit a light controller. Okay, leave your servo tester powered up. Okay, we want to identify our lights. So we're going to plug. We don't know yet. I will tell you that on DYNAM planes, usually some of them are flash. One group will be flashing, and the other group are constants. Let's try these two solid ones, and maybe I'll get lucky and I'll pick the end lights down there, or the landing lights here. Navigation lights are on the front of each wing. Maybe I'll pick them. Same thing, light to light, dark to dark. So black goes to black, or brown goes to black, and red goes to red. Light to light, dark to dark. Okay. So let's see what combination that did. So the instructions really don't show. Okay, what do I got? All right, I got the nav light down there, the nav light down there. They're both on, and that's correct. Okay, so we'll leave them alone for just a minute. Let's see what happens when I plug this in. Alright, now, you probably can't see it, that's flashing. What happens if I plug it into the other one? Okay, so that makes both these landing lights are flashing lights. Well, I really don't want that. Okay, so we got to figure out, we've got one more light that we're going to put on top of the fuselage. Now that one I would want to flash. So I got 3. So I have to make a choice now. What do I want to flash and what do I want to stay solid? Alright, so what we're going to do is our landing lights, I'm going to switch them to make them solid. Okay, because I'd rather have those things solid than let the end nav lights flash. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll switch it to here. And once you get it all worked out, okay, the green's flashing over here. Okay. Alright, the red's flashing. Okay, so my navigation lights are flashing. That means that this little group here is also a flasher. So that should mean if I plug this in, it should flash. And it does. And then these will plug into my landing lights. Okay. And they should be constant. Alright. And that's what I want. Okay. I got flashing nav lights on either end. See? Constant landing lights in the front. This one's flashing over here. And then this light, where'd it go? That's going to be on top. Strobe's on top. Okay, so we can unplug the strobe from on top because we don't have to install that. We're going to unplug the lights, and this all goes to a lead on your receiver, an open channel on your receiver. It only needs power. You can do it in your bind. Okay? And look what we've got now. Now we've got everything labeled, okay? We haven't plugged in our rudder and aileron, or rudder and elevator yet. Remember, they're opposite. But I've got everything here nice and ready for me to install to my receiver. So I'm going to set that wing off to the side. Let it just kind of hang there, okay? I'm going to grab my aileron for my AY, and that's going to go into channel 2. On the Spectrum Protocol receiver. Okay, light side up. Okay. Alright. Then I'm going to grab the elevator, which is actually the R. Remember, they're opposite. Elevator is always next. Okay. I'm going to grab that rudder, which is actually labeled E for elevator, but it's actually, that is the rudder. Light side up. Okay. Okay. Now, grab the flap, which is actually going to go to channel 6. So I'm going to skip channel 5 and go to channel 6 because flap always goes in 6. Okay. And I'm going to take this light lead, plug it into what, I'll just go ahead and put that in my gear channel because it just needs power. It doesn't have to be. And I'm sure there's a way you can finagle your gear channel or something in your radio to turn it on or off. Okay, but I'm just going to plug it in my gear channel because it just needs power. That's all it needs. That's all it's looking for is power. Okay? And you don't have landing gear to worry with, and it's a 4-channel plane, so you got more than enough voltage to cover. So now everything is plugged in minus this light. Okay. And there's more than enough lead for that. So, we're going to go ahead and mount our receiver. Okay? And there's a nice shelf right here. I'll show you in just a second. There's a really nice shelf there that just screams, put receiver here. Put some hot glue on that bad boy. And I'm going to mount that receiver right there. Right up against the section there. All right. Now to show you, I'm going to grab the camera, so bear with me. I'll show you how I know. Woo, going for a ride. Okay. Whoa. All right. To show you where I'll mount. Now I will reroute these antennas, make them go 90 degrees from each other. That's that linkage stopper that I was telling you about to adjust your rudder in or out for your tail wheel. Okay, and there you go. That's how the insides are going to look. So obviously you want to get all this set up before you put the wing on. Okay, got everything the way I want it. Okay, I'm going to pull the wing off to this side for just a bit. Okay, got plenty of room with them leads. Let that just kind of sit down in there. And now I'm going to install, got this extra, that wire. Now I'm going to install the light. Now you're going to need to poke a little hole there, which I pretty much already got one poked. Okay. You want to fish that through there. Now see, these are all things in an E-flight or an FMS plane. All these kind of things, most of this would already be done for you. Okay, but that's why this plane, the DYNAM planes, which they fly great, you know, and sometimes you have to fight with them a little bit. You got to put a little work in. But this is one of the reasons why they're so much cheaper than those planes. Okay, but at the end of the day, you'll have just as much fun. Okay. That's in there, just like that. I love hot glue. Hot glue, and that's Gorilla brand hot glue. Now, it's not just any old hot glue, but Gorilla brand hot glue. So now I'm going to plug that in. Remember, light to light, dark to dark. It's always the polarity. Okay. And now I'm just going to let all that fall down in there. Okay. Oh wait, let me get those antennas taken care of. This is where I like using the edge of the, all right, I want to have one hooked forward. Okay. Where you take a pair of long needle nose, as soon as I find mine. Yeah, make that one antenna go that way. That way it's that way. This one's kind of going up, so they're 90 degrees from each other. Okay. All right. Now, and they're not going to go anywhere. They're pretty stiff wires. Now you can let that just fall down in there, just like that. Okay. That sandwiches in there. This is starting to really look like an airplane to me. Okay. Take the same kind of screws. Okay. And in this case, I'm sorry, it's same long screws, but they're threaded all the way down the length. Okay. You're gonna have a lot of screws left over because remember them gate-looking things that for the floats, they take up a lot of screws. Drop this down there like that. That. You know what? I might be telling you wrong. I think it is. Nope, I'm wrong. It is the wrong. It is these longer screws that have the bare metal and then the other parts. So. where it's nice having the magnetic screwdriver. And don't be alarmed if you have a lot of screws left over. DYNAM almost always will give you extra screws, extra screws. Yeah, see, that's what you want. Okay. And understand, this is not the only point where the plane attaches. Okay. You know what I didn't do? Okay. We're going to finish this off, but I'm going to have to take this wing back off because I got to bind the receiver to the receiver, or bind the receiver to the transmitter. And I have to take the wing off to do it because I didn't run me because that has a bind plug. But I want to show you how to put the wing on, and that'll be part of the radio setup video anyways. It's not wanting to fall down in there. Oh, there we go. Yeah. You notice we kind of have some flex to them. You wouldn't want that when you're flying, so that's why we're going to do, as part of the wing installation, the actual struts. Now for this, you're going to use a very specific type of screw. It is these longer screws. Okay, so you're going to take they're longer. They're about, I don't know, about 1 inch long. Okay. It's easier just to fish it on through. Get one in there. Like I said, it has an obvious how it sets in there. Has a definite bottoming out point. And then you're going to have to drop this one through here. Okay. You may even have to screw it down through there. Alright. And you're going to pull your wing out a little bit and line that up. And it's going to fit in there tight, but it goes deep into that wing, and there's actually a plastic hard point that I can feel in the wing behind it. I mean, it's underneath the foam, but you can tell there's something hard there. That's screwing into. All right, now that is strong. All right, remember a while ago I said you notice there was a little bit of flex in the wing. Okay. Ain't no flex in that wing now. Okay, now you can take the last little bit, other than putting the decals on, which you can do the decals on your own because however way you want to do it. You have these two little peripheral bits that go there, and they're in there nice and tight, so you could either just leave them in, if you want, glue them in. I'm going to go ahead and put mine in, but just remember it is a top loader, so you're going to have to lay it on its top, or you're going to lay it on this part, this side, the top, in order to put the battery in. So, yeah, I'll go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and put them in, because they are kind of bendy. Just be careful when you're putting those are glued in. Okay. Hooking up the linkages to the elevator and rudder are part of the radio setup because I want to make sure everything is working right, which I already know it does. But I'll hook those up whenever I do the radio part. Okay, well, other than putting the prop on and putting the decals on, that is the basic build of the DYNAM DHC Beaver version 2. Alright, it's a good looking plane, and I'm thinking it's going to fly really well. Now I got to go in there and take the wing back off so that I can, bind up my receiver. All right, y'all have a good one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. God bless y'all. Again, FPV and Builds up in West Babylon, New York. Thank you for the plane for a review. Can't wait to get the maiden flight for y'all and for y'all and you at FPV. Y'all have a good one. Bye-bye. Don't forget, faith, family, and friends, and God is good.